I'd like to call the June 16th Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. Courtney Parthune, Pledge of Allegiance.
Great. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion approves. Public comment, Mr. Otis will be monitoring that, and we'd like to take this minute and thank Tim Frankie and Doolin Media for once again volunteering his valuable time for the community and allowing Facebook, which we will be continuing even when we open up to the public. But he does have to leave at 3 minutes till 10. So if the public does have questions, I would make sure you get those questions in beforehand. But at 3 minutes and 10, no matter what happens, we will be signing off of Facebook. So any public comments so far, Mr. Otis? None. Clerk Treasurer Parthune, claims approval.
Okay, we have water claims in the amount of $183,940.19, which includes principal and interest payment for bond anticipation note, the June transfers, and then also June health insurance.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the water claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Motion passes 3-0.
We have wastewater claims in the amount of $173,775.56, which also includes June health insurance and June transfers.
I move we approve the wastewater claims.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Again, we see quite a bit of NSF checks, but we are collecting the fees, correct?
We are collecting the fees, yes.
So I know there's tough times, but we see a lot of people that are NSFing their checks. So those are just extra dollars that everybody needs during this tough time. So any other discussion?
Are we still allowing citizens to pay late or after the fact, or some forgiveness of late penalties?
Yes, so actually March through June, there were no late payment charges. Beginning June, there are late payment charges. So after your bill is due on June 25th, on June 26th, if you haven't paid, late payment charges will be applied. Of course, we'll still take payments, and we are currently working on a new or a temporary policy for extension of payment. I guess that's what you would call it. So you'll see that at the next Board of Works meeting. Some other help for our residents.
Which will also address shutoffs as well, correct?
I mean, it's part of the process, I guess.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, so for civil city claims, we have $2,436,956.22. That includes June health insurance, June trash service, 2012 GO bond payment, and then several Bluff City invoices for the Redevelopment Commission.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. One of the things I noticed, and I don't know if it's delayed, if vendors are delaying billing, but in the process, I noticed here for the downtown bid district, we have 2 snow removal payments.
No.
And we are in June, so is this something where the vendor's not turning in their billing on time, or is the committee not processing that we're taking this so late?
I think it's a combination of a couple of things. The bid hasn't been meeting for the regular meetings. I believe they missed one meeting, and then some of those claims were just sitting. Normally Amy would have handled those, and so they were sitting. So it's a catch up on our end.
Okay, I just want to make sure, number one, vendors are getting paid, and number two, vendors are doing their part to turn in their billing in a timely fashion.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And then we have payroll in the amount of $426,507.
I move we approve the payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
And then we've got the remainder of a payout for an employee for $448.81.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you, Clerk Treasurer Parthun. Department reports. Anybody have a department report that they'd like to share?
Mayor, I do for parks.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to remind everybody we are now into stage 4 on the Back on Track Indiana guidelines, and the governor has opened up playgrounds. So we welcome everybody to return to using the playgrounds. We're excited about this, but we do remind everybody to continue to social distance, and they strongly recommend washing hands and using hand sanitizer after children play on playgrounds. And also have an unfortunate announcement. Foodie Tuesdays for today has been canceled. Our vendor had a very serious family emergency and will not be able to be in the park today. So we apologize, but no Foodie Tuesdays at Unity Park today.
Mark, are we requiring parents and families to bring their own hand sanitizer? Is there some available?
It depends on the park, Mayor. Where there are park restrooms, they are open and they are cleaned daily. We do have soap and water in those restrooms. Otherwise, yes, we are asking parents to bring their hand sanitizer and make sure that they're taking the proper precautions.
Any other department heads?
Yes, engineering. We had a late request came in yesterday, and I wanted to bring it to the board. We had a request from Dyer Construction, who's constructing the underground and site utilities at the hospital. They are working on a project that the city's involved in, which involves a new storm drain along Tyler and State Street. They'd like to start either the 22nd or 29th, and that's before the next Board of Works meeting. So I wanted to request closure of State and Tyler, approximately 1 week each, not at the same time, starting either the 22nd or 29th. And we'll put out all the proper notifications so that EMS and fire and police and everybody know that that they'll have that closed during that period.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
So some quick background on that. The storm sewer on Tyler Street is a 10-inch storm sewer that, or rather a 12, that then transitions to a smaller pipe, a 10 on State, which is not the conventional way you build storm sewers. Usually they get bigger as they drain more area. And there's a number of structural problems with the run on State Street. This makes an awful lot of sense to rebuild this storm sewer while the hospital project's going on and they're rebuilding the road.
Any other discussion, questions?
So that'll end up being, so did you mention that will end up with, we'll have the larger than sewer in that section?
It will, and we're not, that storm sewer goes all the way down State Street to First Street under the underpass. And I don't know what to call I call it Central Wetland at Central and Lake Street. So we're not replacing it the whole run because that's a lot of money and I don't have that in the bank. So we're putting the larger size pipe in the part that's rebuilding and then connecting to the old pipe. It'll help. It won't be perfect, but it makes sense to get that work done now while the road's tore up.
So it kind of puts us in a better position for down the road like that. Then there's less to do in that next piece, whether it's more an opportunity like this or out of need.
Absolutely, and there may be opportunity to put an offline storage so that storm sewer would connect to a storm basin and then that would be drained, and that may enable us to, instead of replacing that sewer all the whole run larger, that may allow us to more cost effectively keep continuing to use it and fix our drainage problems. So there are some options out there in the future. We may not have to replace the whole run.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Will this have a direct impact on a specific number of tenants or occupants along those locations?
This is in front of the hospital specifically.
Okay.
The hospital built a bunch of storage so that intersection of Tyler and Washington that floods so badly should not flood anymore. It still needs a storm sewer though. The hospitals, all their hard surface eventually drains to the city storm. So we got some good reasons to build it.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Any other department head information report?
Just a reminder that Transport is still doing surveys. This is our first step into going to cashless. So we're encouraging the public to do surveys. They can be located on our buses. We have copies here in the office that they can stop by and pick up. And we also are doing a Google survey that's attached to our Facebook page. It will end this week and then we'll get tallied and go into our next step as to going cashless.
And Beth has really been pushing and promoting this, and as well, it's going to allow us to have ideas, new ways to think for our transport for the future. I mean, right now, over the next 3 to 4 years, and eventually you'll see this from Baker Tilly, a financial future report of what the city revenues are going to look like based on lack of traffic, gasoline, dollars coming back from the state. And right now we commit $180,000 from the city's budget to basically break even for transport. So Beth and I are going to work together and she's going to lead, and we're going to think of new ways, new ideas for transport and how to make it successful and reduce that loss. So I'm excited about it and how we can make transport available to more of our residents as an option.
So just a quick question. So I went on to take that survey and it seemed as though it was designed more for like a current users versus maybe someone who might potentially have interest in transport. Is that the case, or did I maybe go to the wrong spot?
No, it's mainly designed for current users because they're the ones that are buying and paying with money. You need to see how many of them are actually able to use it cashless.
Okay.
Beth, what will be included in the cashless? Is that like debit card, credit card, and then the transport cards, or specifically just transport cards?
It will be debit and credit. We're working with a company called Token Transit. Gary Transit and Valpo also use it in this area. And what it is, it's a website that you go to, and if you have a smartphone, it will actually put your pass on your smartphone. You do it mostly monthly, and it just, when they get on transport, they just bring it up on their smartphone, show the driver that they have a valid pass for the month, and they're able to get on and sit down. That will eliminate our drivers from handling any type of cash. For those that aren't able to use, because we are seeing quite a few of them that don't have credit cards or don't have the ability to do token transit, we're looking into also installing cash boxes on the buses. I'm working with our mechanic on that, and they will be able to do exact change and just drop it into a cash box. The whole idea is to keep our drivers from handling any of the dirty cash.
It provides internal controls too.
Right.
For the staff and everybody involved.
Well, and plus we've had drivers that have had to bring cash from home in the past, and we don't want to be doing that anymore to make change.
Mm-hmm.
Any other department head reports? Because I do have something, and as we get closer, you'll hear more and more. But our good friend Todd Taylor is headed to the life ever after on the golf course and is retiring after 41 years. And can you imagine the commitment someone must have to be in water for 41 years with one organization? And we've been so fortunate to have Todd. Nobody appreciates water until something goes bad. And I think very few times has our community ever had to deal with water issues, thanks to his leadership and his efforts, and tremendous shoes to replace. And I won't be able to thank Todd in my short term here enough for everything that he has done. But I think as we go across the department heads and everybody else, and most importantly, our residents, of how special of a person, compassionate of a person, and a leader. And we've been so fortunate to have Todd Taylor. So I just want to reach out and make sure you all know, but most importantly, our residents know how thankful they need to be of Todd Taylor and his commitment to the city of LaPorte.
Thank you for the kind words, Tom. It's a two-way street. It's as you heavily emphasize, it's a we thing. It's we at the city of LaPorte. And we've had a great team. I've been lucky to work under 10 mayors. You've had the most challenging start I've ever seen, but have done well with it. And, we've got great, as you continually say, LaPorte proud. We've got great citizens, great city workers, a great leadership team, and it's been a pleasure. I got a grandbaby coming in Chicago in about a month, and I want to be there as much as I can. So thank you to all the citizens and to the board members and the city council, most especially the mayors and you, Mayor Dermody. Thank you.
Well, and I think we're hopefully going to be able to keep Todd on retainer of some portion that will allow us to call him when he's not with his grandbaby, but maybe call him off the 16th hole, or if we have issues or questions that we'll need his help on. But he deserves all the happiness you do, Todd, and hopefully we'll enjoy Beechwood and your family and grandbaby, because you have been wonderful here for the city.
Thank you. And I do want to note that we do have 9 other certified operators on staff. So I think that's a good thing for the city. Thank you.
Well, we want you, so don't think you're getting away till.
No, it's not going to be easy.
I've seen him with a golf bag, and he looks pretty good on the course. So I think he's going to do all right.
I treated myself to a new push cart for my retirement present. So.
If you didn't realize, this is something you'll learn about Todd. He actually went to college on was it a slalom skiing scholarship, or made the college ski
Well,
team?
I started out in pre-med, but then I signed up and ended up earning a scholarship for ski racing out in Colorado. So that was pretty fun. A lot of good crashes.
Great. Well, we'll have more about this as we get close. And thank you, Todd. Any other department reports? Hearing none, department heads that don't have anything else can go ahead and move on and enjoy their day. So, new business, request for use, birthday party, George Humphrey. Mr. Otis? Or somebody, we have here a request for a 16-year-old birthday party. I automatically said, why are we closing a street for a personal birthday party? That seemed unique, 3rd Street between B and C, but I think this must be something the city has done in the past.
Yes, Mayor, the city has done this in the past, and he did what we asked him to do. He went to the neighbors who lived there, and he had them sign that they're all aware of it, and that they're okay with with the situation and the request.
So do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mayor, I actually kind of had the same thought when I first saw the item and thought, holy cow, but kind of reading through it and kind of as Annette pointed out, like obviously the folks all signed off on it and the insurance is there and everything. So yeah, I had no idea that we do this, but I suppose it's actually kind of nice to be able to do something like this for someone.
And I'm certainly not going to be the no vote and ruin someone's 16-year-old birthday party. So hearing nothing else, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. And I assume Chief Breton or Street Department, someone will take care of this?
Yeah, I will ask the street department to drop off the barricades for them.
Thank you. We also have one from Bethany Church extending June 21st, 28th, July 5th, 12th, 19th, and 26th for their Sunday mass or church service. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Bid opening, public offering 105 Boyd Boulevard.
Okay.
Carthone.
Sure. I have with me, I've received the affidavit of publication showing that our public offering notice was published on April 22nd, 2020 in the Herald Argus. And we have one bid that I will open. Sorry, I'm going quick. I'm trying. 2 envelopes. Okay, we have one bid from M Details LLC. In the amount of $375,000. So I would recommend legal review and the review of the city planner prior to the next Board of Works meeting.
I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And what is this work for? Can somebody?
Mayor, this is Bert. I'll touch on that if that's
Please.
Okay. So 105 Boyd Boulevard is the current fire station on Boyd Boulevard. We've been, obviously there's a new fire station being constructed and the city has pursued the opportunity to sell that property. And so that's what this is in regards to, the ultimate sale of the property after the fire department has moved into their new fire station.
And the goal for this, Clerk Treasurer Parthone, is whenever somebody purchases this property, the dollars will go into the rainy day.
The general fund first, and then we would transfer it over to the rainy day fund. Yes, with council approval.
So
we have a low balance in our rainy day. It's 160,000 or so forth, and we need to begin building that up.
is that bid for the purchase of the property?
That's correct.
So we hope to have something once that's sold that maybe somebody, developer might come in and purchase that property and put something there, correct?
Yeah, there's some very specific items that in order for someone to purchase to be able to bid on that, they have to construct and I don't have the bid right in front of me, but I believe it's a 2,500 square foot quick service restaurant, have to have an operator in hand, have to be ready to go and ready to construct immediately. So again, pending review, I believe that the bidder meets all of those criteria, we'd be able to move forward.
And
Yeah.
I want to add the projects, you know, and I don't see a lot what's happening during this most difficult time in other communities, but the projects that we have going in the Porte, Bert Cook, Tom Casey, Nick Minnick, Jerry Jackson, Todd Taylor, everybody that's on our projects team, amazing how many projects are coming into LaPorte. So I just want to kind of put that out there for our residents. We have a lot going on. Doesn't guarantee it'll happen, but great work.
Mayor, just real quick too, we will obviously review this to make sure it complies with the public offering, but if it does, this will also go before the city council at the first council meeting in July because of the amount. Council has to approve this as well. So we'll do that first Monday and Tuesday after the 4th of July.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So is this, and sorry, I think I'm probably missing the boat on this. This is the bid for, like, this is the purchase price for the property?
Correct.
Okay. And do we have, I can't remember if we've talked about what any sort of appraisals that we've had or anything, but is this a competitive price for that parcel?
Yes, in order for the city to sell property, we have to get 2 appraisals done as part of making sure that, I apologize, I don't have the appraisals in front of me, but we'll make sure obviously that this complies with that. But Bert, if I'm wrong, is this about an acre of land?
Yes, and it does, Mark, the appraisals came back, the number's good, so it's in line, it's a competitive price for the property. So I would tell you that we're very pleased with this. Small of a parcel as this is getting a substantial amount of money for that piece of land.
Okay, and then so we approve it here, but then it's also ultimately it's up to the city council to approve that. Okay, all right.
It's Mr. Kozer, it's just because of the amount. This has happened, this happens with some regularity where the city's selling property, the council has to approve as well. So I think it's Bert, I know, has worked, and other people work pretty hard at this. Andy Snyder had mentioned, I think when he started with the department, they used to get golf balls back there where Walmart used to be. So that area has drastically changed. It probably isn't completely conducive to a fire station anymore with their ability to get in and out quickly. So this will be a good result.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
There's no vote here, I don't believe, Mayor. You're just today.
Okay.
Yep.
We will move Nick Otis, USDA Form CC-505 and or CCC 517.
Yep. So this is, and if Jerry Jackson wants to jump in at all, this is farmland that the city owns around the stormwater facility up in Boyd Boulevard. And the USDA grants subsidies to the farmer that rents the farmland from us. And from time to time, farmland shrinks or expands depending on, I guess, area, land around it. And this has actually shrunk. The amount of farmland has shrunk in this area. And I don't have the exact number, but basically the subsidy has to be reduced in proportion to the amount of farmland that has been lost. And frankly, the USDA, when I spoke with them, said regardless of whether the city approves this, it's going to happen. So about how many acres has been lost to kind of wetland or just wet, low ground here?
Let me get you a number. It's a little triangle that was very involved in our construction project. Take me just a second.
The documents say it's being reduced by 0.54 of an acre, so
That sounds correct to me.
That sounds correct.
it's not much at all.
Yeah.
So do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Beth West, CARES Act Fund Conveyance Agreement.
For those who don't know, we received grant money from the CARES Act for transit. There was a a line item in that original grant that was written. Our portion of it is $729,918. The agreement is for our operating expenses, which is basically the fares that we have not been getting since we've been doing free fares, salaries that we have been covering. NERC is the organization, we're a sub-recipient of NERC. They're the ones that do all our grant writing for us and help us with all our funding. They're requesting to have the mayor and our clerk treasurer sign this agreement showing that we'll provide them all the documentation with our portion of that grant. So we're just needing approval for them to go ahead and sign off on this.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. Discussion?
Are these funds we can use through June of 2020? Is that correct, Beth? Or is it likely that we'll be using them all within this calendar year?
We have through this entire calendar year to use this funding, and it's 100%. Normally our grants that we get through NERC is a 50-50, but this is 100%. So we can use up to, the city won't have to provide any additional funding. This is 100% cost coverage.
This is tremendous for the city based on the current situation that we're in and with transport and the support that they need. So this timing is great for 2020.
And it's also, our capital portion of it is over $325,000, which is going to take care of a lot of cosmetic stuff around transport that we need to have taken care of that won't take any money out of the city's budget. This will all be part of the grant money.
Including a new style and a new look for the buses, correct?
Correct. Along with us, we don't currently have a security camera system to keep an eye on our buses when they're in the garage, which I think is needed since our bay doors are open quite often. So this will also get us the opportunity to have security cameras on the buses to make sure they're not being tampered with.
Any other discussion? Or do we have a motion? I apologize. Yes, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Jerry Jackson, Baker Tilly Financial Agreements Report.
All right, Courtney could weigh in whenever she's obviously been involved in these, in this work. So she could weigh in whenever. There's two agreements here. One is to do a rate study for the waterworks. And that rate study would then look at the capital projects. Are the current rates sufficient for operations? And would produce a report that would go to the Board of Works, then eventually the council, and would have recommendations for rates for the waterworks.
One of these is for the reporting and one of these is for the actual accounting. And I can tell you that Baker Tilly, Jerry, correct me if I'm wrong, Baker Tilly already does wastewater's financial planning.
That's right. They do our annual report, and as part of that annual report, they do a rate sufficiency report, and they look at our capital projects and have our plan, our long-term capital plan, and give me recommendations on what we need to do to make sure we're solid.
So what we're looking to do is to move forward with Baker Tilly for both water and wastewater, which would actually discount our reporting by 23% with Baker Tilly. So one's annual reporting and one is a 5-year financial plan.
I went back and looked, and it definitely does. I compared the wastewater report to the water report, and it definitely does discount the cost of it compared to previous years for wastewater.
So do I have a motion?
Oh, also, I just want to note, I'm sorry, Baker Tilly has been working on our city financial plan as well. So it kind of is all encompassing, and they have all of our information, and it makes a lot of sense. So
do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second discussion. And Jerry, this is something similar to wastewater where nobody wants to have these discussions, but we do need to have a discussion with the community. I think Todd and Jerry have both kept for wastewater and water numbers low. I would almost say maybe too low versus when we compare to other communities where we are for the service that they receive. And one of the good things I think we're doing, and Jerry's going to be setting this up, is inviting the public to take a tour of our wastewater system so people can understand exactly, how things work. We all take it for granted until something bad happens, or we have the flood like we had when we get an overwhelming amount of water and suddenly our letter streets, our number streets are flooded. We have some big discussion that we need to have with the community, and we ask the community, and hopefully we'll get them to participate. And this isn't always fun. There isn't anybody here that wants to go out to the public and say, hey, we need to pay more for wastewater and water. But as well, people want their service and they don't want it to be interrupted. They don't want to have floods. They don't want to have problems. And you know what? If it's been ignored, there's nothing we can do about that for the past. All we can do is move forward now and say, hey, community, we need to be competitive, compare us to other communities, and we want to make wastewater and water the best that it can be, so you as a homeowner don't have to face the issues that you have been facing over the past many years.
And these reports will set us up for that. You'd like to fix all the problems we have, but that's all at once. But obviously, you can't do that. So, when you get done with this process, I've got this list of projects. You prioritize them. You know what they cost, and then you know what that's going to do to the rate. So it enables the board to make good decisions on how to move forward, how to set priorities, and know what our rates will wind up being.
And again, if we were to be able to separate, for example, the water and wastewater right now, if we wanted to do all that today, we'd write a check for $80 million. That's the amount of work that the city of LaPorte has to do to completely separate water and wastewater.
Big number.
Jerry, when's the last time we had a rate study completed?
We last implemented, let's see, it's been 7 years ago now. And what we've done in the past, we haven't had a rate increase for a couple years. What we've had is small incremental rate, a few percentage each year. That way people are able to budget. They know what's coming out a ways. And that's what I would propose out of this study is we would look at our needs and then spread out that increase over years so that it doesn't bite too hard and everyone knows it's coming.
Will Baker Tilly go to the IURC on our behalf, or will that be a joint effort for the rate studies and submission of reports to them?
We're no longer governed by the IURC on either the water or the wastewater side. The city withdrew from the IURC long before my time. So it's a board of works and a city council decision.
Gotcha.
Welcome to Board of Works. I forgot to mention this part of the job. Any other discussion?
Just really outside of evaluating where we're at with rates compared to sort of the costs of delivering, sounds like one of the primary purposes is to evaluate what it would cost to start clicking off some of these some of the solutions for these problems that, like, the $80 million, right? To look at like what we might be able to start doing on maybe an annual basis to address these issues.
Absolutely. You'll said we'll have these many dollars set aside to do capital projects each year, and then you have a capital budget that says, okay, these projects get built in this year, this project get built this year. So it builds a plan.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We'll then move to request to bid the Lakeside Sewer basement protection grant application.
All right, I've got two grant applications, one from 1109 West 14th Street. The quote for the work was $2,291. It's very typical to this work. It involves bringing the basement drains to a sump pump. The city would pay $1,500 of that cost, and we directly to the contractor, and the homeowner would pay the rest. I'd recommend approval for 1109 West 14th Street for a basement grant.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And Jerry, do we check these out? Does the wastewater, do you as a group go and check out to make sure it's justified?
The way the process works, we meet with the homeowner and the plumber and look at the basement and decide what needs to be done. The plumber quotes. If the homeowner is in agreement, and then the project and the board approves it, then the project goes forward. After the work's done, our supervisor goes back down and looks at the work to make sure it's done properly. I've got one more, 1201 Virginia. Again, this is a very similar thing. It would be to install a sewage ejector in this case because they have bathrooms in the basement. Cost is $2,325. The homeowner would pick up everything over $1,500, and then this homeowner would have no more basement backup problems. It's 1201 Virginia Avenue, and I would recommend approval.
So may I have a motion for both applications to be approved?
Will we approve both applications?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jerry, one I have is, after that rain, I would have thought we'd have a stack of these. Have you seen more interest in this $1,500 program since that, or does it wean off with time?
It weans off with time. There's always a lot of interest right after the event. I just had a discussion with Lori, my assistant, on this, and we've got a list we put together of people who have applied, and we're going to follow up with some calls and say, hey, don't you want to go forward with that, and just kind of beat the bush a little bit and see if we can't get more people. It's really disappointing when, you speak to someone about this grant and it's enthused and nothing happens, and then you get a phone call the next time you get an intense rain that the basement flooded again. So I think it's worth chasing a little bit.
It's a unique program. Other cities have shown interest in it based on wastewater's lead here. So I really hope the residents take advantage of this if you've had issues with flooding water in your basement. So I have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Request to bid the Lakeside Sewer Relocation Project.
This project moves the lakeside sewer from underneath Pine Lake and serves the customers served by it with grinder pumps and low pressure sewers, kind of a technology that's very common along lake shores where things are tight, there's grade changes, and the water table is very high. The sewer was installed in the 50s. The lake was very, very low at that time. Now it's some of the manholes are 50 feet out in the lake. The sewer is not maintainable because of its location. We've had problems with ice pushing the manhole covers off, and the actual concrete barrels and breaking them. So we've had some emergencies in the winter keeping this thing running. There's also an issue. On that run of the sewer, there's about 8 septic systems, and while the sewer's right there, they can't connect to it because it's out under the lake. So this project would then sewer everyone along that lake shore, give them proper sewage service from Waverly Road up to Lane Street. Been working at it a really long time because the project goes in yards because there is no street along the lake shore. So we've had to get easements from everyone involved. So it's been a long, long path, but we've now got the easements, and the last thing we're waiting for is a construction permit from IDEM. That's supposed to arrive any day. So we could potentially be bidding, sending out bid notices there's 3 weeks between this meeting and the next meeting. Potentially we could be sending out bid requests in this period between the two meetings. So I'd request approval to send out bid requests for the Lakeside relocation project.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. And Jerry, was this the project that we talked about that, we want to consider financially?
It is. It's funded from the 2015 bond issue. The money stayed in an account as this project's been developed. The engineer's estimate was a little bit over what we've got in the account, so I've had them include some breaks in the bids, some phases, so to speak, so that if the bids come in higher than the funding, we can build as much as we can afford. Keep fingers crossed that the bids come in to where we can fund the whole project. So I'm a little concerned with funding, and worst case scenario, we build part of it a little bit later, but we should be able to build the majority of it, the vast majority of it, right off the bat here.
Do I have a motion? Yes, I have a motion and a second. Jerry, I'd like to see the whole project done. So whatever we need to do to make that happen with the dollars we have, is that possible?
Oh, it's quite possible that the whole project could be constructed. We're close enough. We're in uncertain times, and so bid numbers, you wonder how they're going to come in. We did extend these haven't been issued, but in the documents, the bid request has been, the construction period's been extended out to the end to like June next year, or I think the end of June. And that gives contractors some time to work around our current circumstances, possibly work during the winter, which could save them money. Most of this is out from underneath the road. So I'm hoping that'll keep the bids down at a reasonable number.
Jerry, is the project supposed to be started and completed this year, or we're going further out based on the situation that's happened with the economy and everything this year? Because the letter said bids out in June and then the work summer through fall.
Yeah, and it definitely is. That letter went out kind of before all this really ramped up, and then we realized that if we extended the construction period, we probably would get much better numbers. So yeah, this could extend to spring of next year.
Any other discussion?
So will the new, just looking at the diagram, will it run along Closser? Or is it, you're saying will it be in the yards, but off where it cuts over into the water? It'll be through those yards. That's what I couldn't remember from last time we talked about this.
From Orchard Bluff down to Waverly, there'll be a run that runs through the yards adjacent to the lake. There are houses back on Closser who do not have access to sewer, so there is a run down Closser. And then when you get north of Orchard Bluff, it's in what looks like a road, but it's actually private property. Everyone refers to it as Lakeside Street, from Orchard Bluff up the lane. So there's kind of three separate runs here.
Okay, I see the diagrams, the green, the sort of the thick green. Okay, I see that now. All right, that makes sense.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
As Facebook is going to be leaving us here in a few minutes, I would like to point out to the public, first of all, Mr. Otis, are there any questions from the public? Hearing none, I would also...
Mayor, no questions. So
Also, I'd like to add with the public here, we're continuing to focus on landlords. People should not have to live in subhuman conditions, and enough is enough. As I've said, you're going to start seeing more aggressive action. We've given some landlords the opportunity to improve, and we're not saying the aggressive approach to improving that needs to happen for Porte. And you'll start seeing things happen as early as today. addressing these situations. We're also engaged in anything that we do. We want to have the opportunity for these tenants to find alternative housing. We'll be working with Lisa Pierzakowski on any type of homes that would have to be, or rentals that would have to be condemned. But I hope landlords are prepared to keep their product upgraded. We want people to pay their rent, but as well, some of these properties have been like this for many years. We had another officer call, well, multiple officer calls last evening across from the YMCA. And we can continue to ignore until something very bad, I mean, worse than what's already happened. So I hope the public understands. We've tried to work, and Mr. Batchelor has done a very good job engaging rental owners, but also holding them accountable. And we're going to continue to do so maybe as early as today. So number one, that will be addressed. Number two, the Baker Tilly situation we have had, and Courtney Parthun and Joni Lehman in the clerk treasurer's office has done a fantastic job with department heads gathering accurate information for our future so that we can look at a financial layout for the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. And the public's welcome to be a part of this process. We encourage it. If people want us to cut, we need grass cut. We need fire. We need police. We need to have the best parks. So there's an opportunity to generate new ideas how our city government works. And I'm excited for this opportunity as we move forward, and I look forward to that. So before Facebook goes off here, are there any questions regarding either of those items? Great. So we will now move on to Mark Schreiber, Annual CVB Agreement, Civic Director.
Thank you, Mayor. About 5 years ago, we made an agreement with the Porte County Convention and Visitors Bureau to pay 30% of the salary for the Civic Auditorium Director. We were asking for the annual approval of this contract as it comes back this year. The amount for this year would be $17,000, $298.16.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Oh, second.
Second. So this will be for Mr. Benversi, correct?
Correct. He is still retained as the city employee. We pay the benefits, et cetera, so on, but he is a part-time employee of the Convention and Visitor Bureau by the contract. It's been a very beneficial agreement. Allows Brett to be more involved in Convention Visitor Bureau business. And obviously the 30% paying of his salary obviously is a help to the city budget.
Well, we appreciate the LaPorte County Convention and Visitors Bureau supporting us. Jack Arnett has been a great partner. And I assume by the looks of things this week that Mr. Benversi, to receive this for next year, must have had to shave his beard. So that was good to see it in the agreement. Thank God that thing's gone.
Might have been by his bride-to-be's demand, but yes, the beard has been removed.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Jen Knoll, 1120 Medical SPD for review.
Yes, I'll try to be as concise and quick as possible with these documents. They're all in relation to our medical plan and our dental plan.
We're going to go through the 200 pages.
No, we don't need to go through all of those. So while that's been in effect since January 1st, this is the summary plan document for review. There's no signature required on that one. I've reviewed all of the documentation with our broker GIS, and all seems to be in line with what we've discussed. So that one is just for your records. Next, we've got the medical plan letter with the date correction, and then an additional plan letter with the summary of modifications on page 2. So for the first letter, there's the extended care benefit. We've maximized that at 60 days. So far, nobody has there's been no claim regarding that, so it shouldn't change anything for anyone. Additionally, the modifications on the other letter are pretty self-explanatory. Some of those are updates to the preventive list. So we've added on to a lot of the benefits in our summary plan document. So just asking for the 2 medical letters, asking for your signature and approval on both of those documents.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, next we've got the Quantum Health and the City of LaPorte agreement. So this is an actual renewal of the Personal Precision Oncology Management Service. This is a fee for service, so we don't pay this unless there is a case that is actually reviewed by an oncologist and their team. So, for example, if there's a diagnosis of cancer, then this Personal Precision Oncology Management team would reach out to that person and review their case with them, and that's $3,950 per case. This would be the second year that we are opting for this service to be included in our insurance benefit. There was nobody that took advantage of this in 2019, but we would like to still review this. So asking for your approval on that.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
So is this, so